Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out with Charlie Sims, obviously the manager of John Ryder, who will have his big world title fight November 23rd up in Liverpool on away turf. Having worked with John for so long, and he's been a bit of an unsung hero of the sport, you know him really well. How does it feel to finally get that world title fight nailed down?
Amazing. We was just sitting in a room over there before everybody come in, and I just said, John, wouldn't it be amazing if we just shocked the world and we won this world title? Like, after everything we've been through, the journey we've been through, it has to happen. It's got to happen. There's a reason why we're here, and I just got mad belief that he's going to do it.
How close was it to him having the Eubank fight on ITV, and then how quick was the turnaround to this being a possibility?
So we had agreed terms to fight Eubank. We signed the contract. We wanted to send it back. We didn't receive anything from their side, so that stalled us for quite a bit. We were also offered the Billy Joe fight before he came to Matchroom, and then obviously once that transition happened, that didn't happen. So we were always in constant communication with Eddie and kind of updating him on what's going on, and then as soon as the Eubank fight kind of fell out of bed, it just made sense to make the Smith fight. Obviously John's mandatory for Smith's belt, and we were up for doing that fight.
How did you feel about going up to Liverpool for the fight? Did you always feel that would be the case with Callum being the champion, having a bit more of the power in negotiating?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be in Liverpool from the off, so there was no negotiating on that. But John doesn't care. John will go anywhere. He would have thought we was going to fight Eubank in London, Billy Joe probably in London, but we were ready to go, obviously, to the States to fight Lemieux when that fight was going to happen. So John he doesn't care. As long as he gets his world title shot, that's all that really matters.
Without going into precise figures, is the money John's getting for this comparable to what he would have got for Eubank and Saunders?
It was all around the same. Eubank money was probably a bit better, but it was going to be a pay-per-view fight. So obviously this is going live on Sky Sports, and it's actually good for the fans because it's not a pay-per-view fight and they get to see an all-British world title fight. So it just worked out. It worked out well. We was happy with what we signed up to. So.
Is this arguably a no-lose situation for John, in that if he wins, he achieves his dreams, it's amazing. If he doesn't win, no one thinks he's going to get blown out. It'll be a creditable effort, and he's still in a similar position to he was before the fight.
There's still massive fights for John, no matter what happens. I think he's proved himself as a super middleweight and a world level contender. Whatever happens in this fight, obviously if he wins, it's going to change his life and his career. If he doesn't come for it, as long as he gives that, like you said, a credible fight, then there's also other big fights out there for him. Billy Joe Saunders is now at Matchroom, that's a big fight. Maybe the Eubank fight will come back around again. The Lemieux fight's still a possibility. There's big fights for John out there. But obviously the main focus is winning this fight. This is for the #1 spot in the super middleweight division, so it's massive.
Just give us a bit of an update on what's going on with some of your other fighters. What's the kind of big news with them, and when can we see some of them next out?
So Joe Cordina's out in Monaco. It's a really exciting fight actually. He's fighting the kid that beat Jordan Gill in his last fight.
And dropping down in weight as well.
He's dropping down to super featherweight. I think he's going to be a beast at super featherweight. The mad thing is he's kind of been making lightweight quite easy. So to drop down to super featherweight now, I think it's going to be a really good turning point for his career.
And is it right, you're not going to give up the British lightweight title until after the result of this fight?
Yeah, correct. So we're not going to give it up. We're just going to see how this goes. Pretty confident that he's going to come through it quite successfully. So hopefully he will win that fight and we will move on to bigger and better things at super featherweight. But at the moment we're going to hold on to the British title at lightweight.
And some of your other guys, obviously we saw Ted out recently against Scott Fitzgerald. He was very aggrieved immediately after, and I saw him at a show in Maidstone last week. He still didn't seem particularly happy with the result. What did you make of it?
I mean, it's odd because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I still thought he won the fight. We watched it back without commentary. We thought he won the fight. A lot of other people thought Scott Fitzgerald nicked the fight because he won the last 3 or 4 rounds. It was a good fight. I think a lot of people wrote Ted off in that fight, to be honest. They honestly thought he was just going to get smashed to pieces, he was going to be outclassed, and that was that. I thought the game plan was spot on. Alright, he lost the last 4 rounds due to probably tiredness, but I think he's going to come again in 2020, and he's going to be in big fights. He's already been offered big fights for the end of this year, but we just decided to give him a long break. He's had 3 hard fights this year, come back in 2020 and start again. Felix Cash was out last week, epic fight against Jack Cullen. credit to Jack Cullen, very, very tough, but Felix Cash just proved that he's class and he's ready to move to the next level, hopefully for the European next.
Is there a bit of a concern with Ted in that he's changed his style, best he's ever looked, great performance, but he didn't get the result, however contentiously, so there might be the temptation in his mind now to go back to the previous style and be a bit more combative when he doesn't need to?
I think from Ted's point of view, he wanted to prove to everybody that he can box a bit. All we've seen Ted do is fight, and I think if you're, depending on who you're fighting, like Kieran Conway, you can't box Kieran Conway. He's a very, very good boxer. He's very tall. He's very awkward. So trying to outbox someone like him is going to be very difficult. You have to close the space. So he had to do that. Garcia fight, a little bit different. I don't think the Ted Cheeseman we see in the Garcia fight was a Ted Cheeseman we see against Conway or Scott Fitzgerald. I think had he gone back, he'd have fought differently. He didn't stick to the game plan. It's quite well known within the gym and Tony Sims that he didn't stick to the game plan. But Conway, he stuck to the game plan, thought he was very unlucky not to get that. And then Scott Fitzgerald, to be fair, he stuck to the game plan, he boxed. I thought he boxed Scott Fitzgerald's head off for the first half of the fight. And he just didn't get it. But he just proved that he is at that level. And it's interesting to see how far Scott Fitzgerald goes now. And it will be interesting to see whether Ted Cheeseman can bounce back in 2020.